What is up, everybody? It is your boy, the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin. And this is Shooting the Shit Uncensored. And we are coming to you live, baby, live. And tonight I have a very special guest this evening. Guys, if you've heard me say on many podcasts, I am a huge fan of independent professional wrestling. I am 39 years of age, so I am especially a huge fan of early 2000 independent professional wrestling around the world. My guest this evening is a pioneer of that wrestling boom from the early 2000s on the independent scene. One of the guys, former CZW tag team champion, former CZW Ironman champion, best of the best winner. He's also been a tag team champion at IWA Mid-South. It is Joker, former member of the Blackout, is going to be my guest this evening. We're also going to have Boogalou popping in to say a quick what's up as well and joining us. But guys, before we get the show started, it's time to take a quick second, a quick pause for the cause to thank some of those sponsors and help us keep the lights on up in this bitch. First up is healthvape.com. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are one of those nasty cigarette smokers, those vapor thing, I don't know, you call someone who uses a vapor, I'm not too sure. If you're one of those douchebags that chucks up big fucking clouds when you walk around the street, you need to get off that shit and go to a healthier alternative. Go to healthvape.com. Use promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Guys, these products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals, and they are vitamin infused. So if you are looking to get off cigarettes or regular vaping, hit up healthvape.com with promo code MWAPOD. Guys, as well, while you're checking stuff out online, you need to check out sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS, sleefs.com. If you are an athlete or someone you know is an athlete in your family, you need to check out sleefs.com, ladies and gentlemen. They've got arm sleeves, compression pants, compression shorts, the compression socks, headbands, mouth guards. They've even got dirty fucking boxes, guys. And these dirty boxes that they sent me are the most comfortable boxes that I own, hands fucking down. But guys, make sure you go and check it out. And MWA Podcast Network, we're bringing you some of the hottest shows going on wrestling entertainment in the world today. We have Killing the Business, hosted by former ECW original, the Kingpin, Angel motherfucking Medina, with King Mega, and also the Burger King Sexton. And we've also got Knights of the Gimmick Table, hosted by the Dead Presidents, Boogaloo and Lowrider. They've got amazing guests coming on every single week. And we've also got Get Funked, hosted by former WCW and TNA star Alan Kwee Funk. And as we've seen, he's sort of been in the main wrestling news media as of late. And I'm sure that that's going to be more coming out of that lately. But guys, without further ado, I'm going to bring on my guest at this moment, this evening, this morning, wherever you are in the world. Joker, thank you for joining, brother.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Man, it's, as I said, it's an absolute pleasure, dude. I have been appreciator of your work for many years. Your style in itself, it was quite unique at the time and something completely different and hard hitting. So you were definitely one of those guys that really stood out for me as a fan watching back then.
Wow, I mean, I never would have thought of myself to be or referred to as like a pioneer or anything. It's like then it was just I was a kid that just loved doing what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like even like joining a wrestling school at the age of 15, and all I wanted to do was just perform in the ring because it was life to me. So just to hear those words coming from you, it does mean a lot. It's very humbling.
Yeah. And like, dude, like, you before you came into like obviously 2002 when you sort of got your start in with CZW, how did you actually break into the business?
Well, let's see. It goes back to when I was a kid. Like I grew up in Kensington, so I went to high school, Catholic like schools throughout my whole life. And my mom being Cambodian, like with all Asian cultures, they love pro wrestling. And as a kid, I despised it. And I think right around 98, when I was in the 8th grade, I was introduced to ECW. It was on Channel 48, and it would come on at like midnight. And I would actually sneak a TV into my room because I had strict parents, or I'll be in the basement, one of the spare TVs, cover it with a sheet so I could hide the light because I could hear my father when he's going to the bathroom. And, I had to keep the low vis so I can actually watch the program. And it just, like seeing Rob Van Dam and Sabu, like the first match I remember ever seeing ECW was Bam Bam Bigelow, Rob Van Dam for the TV title. And that match alone, like, blew my mind. Like, I was watching, the Attitude Era at that time, but I've never seen anything like it. And just seeing like that, the raw talent and the guys in the locker room, like your Taz and Sabu, just incredible. Dreamer, it introduced me into a whole new spectrum of wrestling that made me want to be part of, and I want to be just like them. And I remember like leaving the 8th grade, and it was one of those, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wrote down, I want to wrestle in ECW. So during baseball season at school, where we practiced, there was this garage across the street, like maybe about 5 yards away. And you'd hear like noises, like, at the time I didn't know it was guys bumping. I remember one day they lifted that garage door open to get air in. I saw a ring. And right then and there, I knew I have to be in there. Because at the time, it's like you didn't have as much access to information like we do now. So it goes either by word of mouth or, luckily for me, I got to see it. And then around that summer, right before my freshman year of high school, I had my best friend at the time was 19. We went in to check it out. I talked him into joining with me, and I had to be at least 16. So I had him lie for me and be like, my cousin that, validated my age. And from then on, we just started training. Needless to say, I stayed, he didn't. And it saved me from becoming a drug dealer, which almost happened. It pulled me away from the streets. I was training 6 days a week, Saturdays with this gym. They had their own company called PWA in Philadelphia. So shows would be running Saturday, be part of the ring crew and security. And then Sunday, I'd go back to train again. It was like open mat, and I trained nonstop. And yeah, it was just that whole passion, that I had watching ECW just really drove me to just, wrestle.
And you mentioned that it kept you off the streets and kept you out of trouble. I mean, like the area that you grew up was like, did you grow up in a rough area?
Yeah, like we got there around 89. I was born like, West Philadelphia. My parents in a 1-bedroom apartment. It was me, my parents, and my sister, and then my brother and my father. He worked for the city of Philadelphia and the health department. So we ended up buying a house in, the Kensington area of North Philadelphia. And we were like the only minority family that moved in as a 100% Irish neighborhood. So growing up was kind of rough because I was different. No one knew like what my nationality was because I'm part Cambodian, but they thought I was fully Cambodian because I spoke that language with my mother. I grew up not speaking Spanish. My grandfather's actually from Spain. My grandmother's Puerto Rican. My father was born in Puerto Rico. So he had like a rough upbringing back then coming over to the United States, shined shoes, did all that type of shit. But, when I got there, it was just, it was a little rough. And then over, as time progressed, drugs became rampant. Guys from the Badlands were coming over, which is on the other side of my neighborhood, So drugs was getting rampant. Guys were, starting to make money, having pagers and shit, the typical stereotype of a drug dealer. And I remember being approached with me and my best friend at the time about opening a corner. And it sounded great because at the time it's like, it's all about money. And luckily it never panned out. Thank God it didn't, because my life would have been 10 times different than it is now. I'm very fortunate. No regrets, maybe a couple, but still, like, wrestling was the one thing that kept me away from all the bullshit. Period. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, like I said earlier, like today I'm taking my father to court because of my brother. He never went with me, and he became a product of the environment. And now, I have no sympathy, no remorse, but he's a fucking junkie. You know what I mean? And it's because of being around that area and, not doing what you need to do. I mean, we all have life choices, and I can't ever say like anyone was forced into shit. There's still a choice. Even if the fucker has a gun to your head, it's either eat that bullet or stand by your principles and eat the bullet, or become a bitch and then do what they want you to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think as well, like as you said, I think a lot of times you become a product of your environment, and for yourself, like obviously saw wrestling as an escape from that life, as you know what I mean. Like that's something that impacted you in a positive way, and took you down a different path where it could have been much nastier.
Yeah.
But like, as far as getting in and started the wrestling training, how did you find like going in there and paying the dues at the beginning, like going and doing the ring crew, and doing sort of like having to sort of pay your dues, so to speak?
At the time, it was like you just knew this is something you had to do. Like it was just a must, no matter what. I remember the first incident of me doing ring crew at an event. Like it was the first event I'd been to. Is what is expected of you. I remember that night I didn't stay for some reason. I thought it was over and I left. And I remember the next day I had to pay basically in blood for leaving and not staying and doing what I was supposed to do, which was break the ring down and taking it back. Even then, like after that incident, then I knew like, yeah, I fucked up and not to do it again. And I was taught the right way. So, after shows or whatnot, I mean, being a 15-year-old kid, I'm staying up past like 1 a.m. because breaking down the ring, loading up in a truck, taking the truck to, where the ring's going to be stored. And then by the time we're done, 1 a.m. So, I mean, that was just like once a month, every month. And ever since then, like I greatly appreciate, paying my dues, because now when I look at people today, a lot of the younger guys, they don't even know what the fuck that even means anymore, and it's sickening, but you kind of see the transition from how it used to be to how it is now. And I'm not going to knock on any of the guys of today because they're all phenomenal athletes, but you could see a little difference in the locker rooms these days. Like people to me seem to be more entitled, and they haven't paid shit to have that. It's like with modern society now with this whole woke bullshit. It's the same thing. They feel entitled to their opinion and not realize your opinion has consequences. Yeah, everyone's, has the right to have an opinion and shit, but understand your opinions do have consequences.
Yeah, especially if you want to go and voice those opinions publicly as well. You got to be prepared for backlash if there's going to be people that, go against your opinion.
Yep.
So it's crazy, man. Like, because like for the longest time, I think that society in general that you look at where, like the younger generation sort of, like back when, like, you guys are probably maybe a couple of years older than me, right? But like when we were kids, like we didn't really hear where I grew up. Like we were very rarely inside. We were always outside, always active.
Yeah.
Like, what I mean? Like video games and McDonald's and that shit was just like a treat. And it's like, you look at like even my kids today, it's like every night, what's for dinner? What's for dessert? You know what I mean? Like, what do you think dessert?
And you know what, bro? Not for nothing. A lot of times, I feel like we're the blame for it, because I don't know if Bill. I'm pretty sure you guys are the same as me. Like, you want more for your kids more than you had.
Of course.
But then we take it to the extreme. So I'm gonna give my son every opportunity, and I take it to the extreme, and it could be a little too much, and that's why kids are the way they are these days. Probably
we're fucking up that generation.
Yeah, basically. We're fucking it up.
Yeah, definitely.
But Joker, you mentioned being a big fan of ECW, man, and you in 2002 you made your debut in CZW, which was kind of like in that northeast area, the company that really sort of took over from ECW when ECW sort of faded out. Was that the sort of like, did you see what they were doing as the next level to ECW and you wanted to be a part of that? But like, what was the attraction to CZW for you?
With CZW for me, I remember first time I ever seen CZW, it was like I said, the gym I belonged to, they rented the ring out as well, and we rented it out to a CZW event in Sewell in the indoor soccer arena. And that night, I remember this is the first time ever seeing this. I remember watching Nick Gage and Justice Payne. It was the same match where the fans threw in the chairs and Nick Gage gets hit with a hand of powder, and then Justice Payne whacks him with the chair and knocks him out. That even right before that spot, like, you know, Gage gave him that fall away slam from the very top rope onto the pile of chairs. And I was like, holy shit. Like that was like the extreme to me. And then seeing Wife Beater and Lobo with, you know, the panes of glass, you know, it was all on the same night. And that's when I was just like, what the fuck? Like, this is something so new, so spectacular to me. And when I got into CZW, it was like, it was all because I've worked for a company out in Vineland, New Jersey for it was like a little sub company for Carlos Colon from Puerto Rico. It was what is it? Not Triple W, it's like IWA or something like that, right? And he had a gym in Vineland. It was like and I was working for them for a little bit, and then I ran into guys like you know, that became like JoJo and Craze and stuff, and you know, Merc. And we're trying to find gyms to train at, you know, within the Jersey area. So we ran to the CZW gym right around the Deptford Westville area. Remember going in there, working out. John was there. John was always there. And John is like the most humblest person, but a guy you never want to cross peer. And he protected his own. I had a quick match with Crazy was little. We're wrestling and stuff like that. And I had no interest in really working for the company at the time. It's just to find a place to train. And I've been at that gym for a minute before being offered to wrestle for John. Like John one time came to me. It was a show. I believe it was either on a Sunday. It was like an off day, and someone didn't show up. And Chris Hero needed an opponent. And John came up to me in the crow's nest and was like, "Hey," he's like, "Hey Billy, you got your stuff with you?" I was like, "No," because I didn't expect to even have my stuff. That's why I learned to always keep my shit with me. Because he wanted me to wrestle Hero at the time. At the time, I felt like I was not even at that level, even if I did have my shit. But soon after that, I did that one match at the arena against Corey Castle, Niles Young, and, you know, Black G's. And then right from there, things started kicking off slowly. And, you know, from then on, like, I just stuck with it. Like, CZW is, you know, was my home then. It still holds a place in my heart, you know. With the shit that goes on with it now, I want no parts of it because of the fucking, you know, how dipshit, you know, took it and tried to transform to, you know, what it's been the last couple of years. But still, like, when I got my start, I held on to that ball and I wouldn't let it go.
Yeah, and I like CZW back in the day for me was like one of those like amazing like I was just transfixed with what they were doing just from the level of violence, but also like the mixture of styles and performers that they had there. Because like, you know, when you look at the card with you, like yourself, the Backseats, you know, Justice Payne, Nick Gage, you know, Wife Beater, Lobo, Messiah, like, you know, and there's so much talent, and they sort of expanded their talent as the company grew and grew and grew over that sort of period. But you know, you mentioned like CZW now. You know, what do you think was the downfall, like for CZW? Like, what went wrong with them? What was the mistake
DJ's
made?
ego. DJ Hyde's ego. That's what sums it all up. It's his ego.
What happened with dude? Because when I first met DJ, you brought him to WXW, UNG's, and that's the first time I met DJ. And he was a quiet dude. And then next thing I know, I come back. They did WrestleMania week down here in Orlando, and I go to the show, and I find out he's in charge of CZW.
Dude, I think after a while, it's like after all the naysayers with him, he kind of took it out on them once he got to this position. You know what I mean? It's like a kid that would play with other kids and they never gave him the ball to play with. And finally he has his own ball and he says, you know, fuck you. You're not going to play with me. Yeah. That's what I think that's what really happened. I mean, DJ was like, you know, he was like a great friend at the time. You know what I mean? Because he would travel with me and G's to like, you know, WXW, JAP and stuff. And we share knowledge with him, you know, knowledge of personal experience and shit. You know, we didn't have much of that growing up in the business. We learned a lot the hard way. And then we had fortunate guys that were around the Northeast independent scene that helped us out on grooming us to, you know right from wrong and do the right thing and, you know, establish respect and stuff. And I just really think like once he got to, you know, he got to own this company, it was an ego trip. I remember getting the news when he bought Combat Zone, I was just flying back. I was at McGuire Air Force Base, coming back from my second deployment. And once I got on the bus, I got on my phone right away. And I remember him telling me he owns CZW now. We get to do what we want. And, you know, I'm going to bring Eddie. I'm going to bring Ricky, and, you know, all these people. And I was like, all right, cool. Sounds great. It's something we've all talked about, you know, for years. And then, you know, fucking, it just went to shit after that. I guess he had a lot of people pumping shit into his fucking head. You know, like, this is what you need to do. You know, really focus on TV, like all this other shit. You know what I mean? And he just didn't process it right.
It's almost like with CZW, you look back at like the early years and it was like a team mentality, like a pack.
Oh,
like,
it was a gang mentality.
Yeah, it was a gang mentality. And you look at CZW probably over the last few years, and it's almost like they're like wrestlers coming in, they've had good talent coming in, but it's almost like guys just, you know what I mean? They're not CZW performers. They're just sort of like blow-ins coming in to sort of work a CZW show to get that on their resume, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like half those guys, if John was still around, wouldn't be there. Period. Because they didn't fit. Like you had, and I've said it from time and time again, you had to earn your spot in Combat Zone. It wasn't a spot was given to you. Like you came to do a show and you had to earn it. If you became part of the boys, you had to earn your stay in that company and earn the respect of that locker room. And over the years, that started to go away because a lot of our veterans start to leave, move on to other things, or not be used anymore. And, you know, there's always issues with booking, but the credit for the early 2000s CZW, the mixtures of talent, all goes to, honestly, Mike Burns and Michael Pankos. Michael Pankos knew what he was looking for. Mike Burns was the same thing. Because remember, Smart Mark Video was doing stuff for IWA Mid-South. So what was going hot there, he brought to the Northeast. He brought guys from the Northeast to the Mid-South. So a lot of it does go to Michael Pankos with that, you know, the formula of success in the early 2000s.
Yeah, 100%, man. And, you know, with you, you know, over in CZW, man, like you did like you dabbled in the deathmatch sort of scene, but you weren't really doing, like you wouldn't be labeled a deathmatch worker, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I became like a big fan of death matches, like the early, you know, stages of like wrestling school. I got a hold of the history of the Big Japan death matches, and I just loved the way the stories were told during those matches, the selling and everything. And it was always like, you know, it had a deep, you know, regard like within me to respect it and do it. And then finally had an opportunity to do it, you know, tried it, still respect it. But I realized like I didn't want to get stuck doing that. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. I didn't want to get stuck. If I got stuck, then, you know, I would have to do it all the time and I'd be limited to the things that I needed to get done.
Yeah. And do you think like also if you stuck to that sort of style, it would have like stopped other like future bookings from other promotions looking at you going, oh, like he's just a deathmatch guy, like we can't bring him in?
Yeah, that was a mindset that was like presented to me over time, and that's what I didn't want, was to actually get stuck in that and then be known for, you know, death matches.
But even then, like I mentioned earlier in the show, like your style was like, you know, really hard hitting, really aggressive, and like, you know, I mean, like you pretty much like a lot of the times when you were like, yeah, even throwing through the ropes, you're literally like flinging your body onto someone else. But like, as far as your style, how did that like go? Because like I said, it looked very realistic, very hard hitting. Did that take a massive toll on your body?
Well, I was younger, so I didn't really feel it. I feel it like now, you know what I mean? Yeah, like it's just, you get conditioned for it, you know, because even when I would train almost at like a 60%. You know, I wouldn't like, you know, let up at times. We're always safe about things, of course, but I train at that tempo. It's almost the mindset of train like you fight. So it pretty much geared me into like taking some of the, you know, the brutality that I was giving out and receiving. And my thing is, I've always been a fan of making it as realistic as possible, that I wanted, you know, the person in the third row to feel each strike, to feel each slam, to feel everything. Because like I'm a big fan of Chris Benoit, huge fan, and a huge fan of all like Japanese pro wrestling at the time, everything from All Japan, New Japan, and of course, Noah. And I wanted to gear more towards a sportsman like, competition than, what you see now, which is more or less pushing towards TV. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to be known to being a sportsman, being held at a serious regard within every locker room I went to,
Yeah. And you know what, it's even similar, like with your style, Boogaloo, like you and Joker have a very similar sort of style, because your style as well is very like aggressive and hunting, you know what I mean? Like but it's good to see how like you can intertwine that style, because like when you were tagging with, Eddie Kingston in the Blackout, and obviously you, Boogaloo, tagging with Lowrider, I mean, two guys that have completely different styles to what you're doing, but you're able to incorporate that into a team and complements it.
So I actually have video of this. There's a match of me and Homicide versus G's and Joker.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's a good fucking match. Like we went all out for that match. And you see us, a young version of us, just going all at it.
Yeah. And I think I attribute a lot of it because it's the Northeast style of wrestling. Because when you look back with all what they labeled as strong style, all of us weren't the cock diesel ass dudes that you normally used to seeing on TV. So we had to fight for our positions, and then fight for our respect. So the main thing was with all of us was that style, which was more. It kind of reflected on our upbringing a lot, being from the hoods and the ghettos and having to fight for survival. So that was displayed within our style of wrestling, and it matched us. It matched our demeanor. That's why, I got along so well with a lot of the New York guys, with the New York indies, because the upbringing is very, very similar compared to us from guys in the Midwest or out, in the West Coast, like California.
Yeah,
100%.
We come from a side of town where if you didn't handle your business in the street, you were gonna come home and fight your parents.
Yep.
Your parents are gonna come home and whip your ass, so you better handle your business in the street.
Exactly.
But you're gonna get it when you come home. And
we came from a time where they label it as child abuse now.
Right. And I got into a lot of it because my brother had a big mouth.
Yeah, but your brother's a smart ass. I don't know if it's a big mouth there. He's a cheeky motherfucker.
He had a big mouth that he used to mouth off to the bigger guys. So that's how we got into it.
But Joker, one of my most favorite matches that you were in was a match against you and Chris Hero. Not Chris Hero, Chris Cash, sorry. In I think it was Cage of Death 5, the ladder match. Dude, that match, you guys beat the living fuck out of each other in that match. That to me was one of the most insane matches that I've seen. And I think you guys told a great story with that. But how important of a person was Chris Cash to you? Because obviously he did die tragically, but I do know that you guys were friends.
I mean, he's very important to me. He helped put me on the map with that match, and that match was pretty much done on the fly because the original was supposed to be Deranged and Azrael being part of it, and like I've touched on before. But then we were able to come together and come up with this masterpiece. Two young guys that had passion for what we do and a passion for the company, and not to let John down. And after that, me and him became very, very close. The last time I saw him, I was on my first deployment. I was home on leave for 2 weeks leave, and I had a party at the house. It was right before that tournament of death between me, John, against Blackout. And we drank our asses off the night before. Then I went to the show. We did it, and the last time I saw him was at the Hooters before going home. Him, GQ, I forgot who the third person was. They were leaving. It was a quick embrace, a handshake, a big hug. I miss you, love you. I'll see you, when I get back. And, while I was back overseas, it was a lot of things happened almost at one time. We lost about 6 guys in our task force. 4 of them I was there to witness. And then I get the news of Chris right after. Jeez. And it was just one thing after another. Then I picked up smoking and chewing tobacco right after that because I didn't know what else to do. But then I had to go back into mission focus and focus on what I needed to get done. And when I got, when I was out there, I honored him by raising a flag on our forward operating base. I raised it that morning. So we brought it down, turned it into the TOC. The FOB commander there signed off on it, and it was a tribute towards Chris, and I was able to present that to his parents. That to this day they still have that hung up and hold in high regard.
I remember seeing that on like that actually recently. I rewatched it, that tribute, and it was like, man, like such an emotional thing, like for something back then, and how you sort of read like how you had this, you flew this flag in his honor and it was given to his parents. I think it was probably one of the most respectful tributes that I've seen in professional wrestling, and obviously something to that magnitude as well, with the flag. And even just touching on that match that you guys had at Tournament of Death 5, even John Zandig coming out at the end of their match and putting his stamp of approval on that, almost felt like he was like him coming out and making you made guys in the company at that stage,
Yeah.
But like as far as that tribute to Chris Cash went, did something happen in the crowd? Because like there was something that I saw where it was like there was a moment's silence, and I don't know if someone yelled something out, and then there was like a bit of something got back and forth. Are you able to tell us what happened there that night?
I don't know. I can't recall exactly what was said, but during a moment of silence, someone broke it, and whatever was said, it wasn't taken lightly. I think it was borderline disrespectful, and then that's when all attention was on that individual right after that. It was like that. Just that moment alone was just so like blurry to me. But yeah, that's what I recall. Like something was said, and it was not taken lightly at all. Like it had to be something very disrespectful for us to turn and go into what we transpired it to be. You know what I mean? It wasn't just someone made a sound. It was a disrespectful comment that was made, and that person did get thrown out, right?
Yeah, like I think from what it showed on the footage, it did. Like, cause I couldn't make out what the comment was, but I could hear, like when I was watching it, I went back and I was like, what happened there? And that's why I really wanted to sort of ask, because I found like if someone did, that's why I thought someone said something inappropriate. But it's like, man, you got to be a real piece of shit for a moment of silence to be taken to then decide to be a heckler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's low class, but again, I think that was one of the best tributes that I'd ever seen, and it was very touching, for everything that you guys did for Chris's family with that. But you've made mention as well, doing tours over in Iraq. In 2004, man, you decided to put everything on hold here, sign up to the military, and go over, and fight over in Iraq, go into a battlefield. What was your motivation in doing that?
Well, I was a big artist in high school. Like my thing was comic art. Like I was real big into art. I was pretty much set to go to the Philadelphia Academy of the Arts after high school. And in my senior year, that's when September 11th happened. I recall the first period U.S. government, the first plane crash happened. We're watching the classroom, didn't think anything of it besides it being an accident. Second period was Theology 101. That's when we watched the second one hit. And then that's when everyone's like speculating what may happen. We were released early from school because of City Hall, so everyone from Center City had to leave, had to go home. And that's when, news, the broadcasts are, really, information started slowly coming out about what may have transpired and the origins of it. And then from then on, I just had this epiphany of, I needed to do something. I didn't want to sit at home and be the guy that sits on the couch eating fucking Lay's potato chips, talking shit when I'm an able body and I can do it. So I did no research. It's not like now, like I touched on earlier, with information, at the tip of your fingers, and you do so much research. I wish I had that. And I wish I had somebody that guided me the right way to get the best contract. But I saw the first recruiter, which is an Army National Guard recruiter in my cafeteria. Went to him. He sold me a good thing, like any fucking dickhead recruiter would do. I took the offer, whatnot. It was like a week in the month, 2 weeks in the summer. So I was like, cool, I could still wrestle and stuff. And, did the basic training, ended up having a knack for it, had a love for it, felt like this is where I belong. Like the same thing with wrestling. And, got to my company, wasn't what it was cracked up to be. I was just sitting there like, what the fuck is this? And finally, I got pulled in because guys at my unit at the time just came back from Germany and Bosnia. So Iraq came in, and I remember we had a briefing of, we're going to the big sandbox, and they read off this roster, and I was part of it. So I ended up going with them. So we did a full train up prior to, went overseas. After, I was a combat engineer at the time, so we dealt with a lot of demolitions and route clearance. After, I think, 4 months with my original company, I got tasked out to a specialized team, counter rocket mortar exportation team, which was me, this other engineer. We had mortarmen from another unit, and then a unit from, active army. And that's all we did was go to these point of origin sites, food sites, where they'll, launch, rockets or mortars. When we finally caught the mortarmen, now we had nowhere to go. The active duty component had to go back to doing base defense, and we were stuck without a home, and finally got sucked up with a scout company, which were the major's baby of that FOB, and they did all the high value target raids and stuff, and was fortunate enough to get, implemented with them. I was on one squad, the other engineer was in the other squad, and we would do, a week of night missions. The other one would do a week of day missions, and when we did our high value target raids, we'd all come together, sleep all day, prep our equipment, wake up right before midnight, do our last minute, checks, and then do some rehearsals. And then we go out at night and do God's work, snatch the bad guys and bring them back. So, I loved it. I came home. I had the sense of not belonging when I came home. Like I yearned and itched to go back. So I was looking at going back full time. Like I just hated coming home and seeing a lot of these fucking people, just have no regard for respect whatsoever. There's no sense of order, nothing, no lack of principles. So when I was about to leave to go, to the active duty portion, then I was told to check out this one company with my daughter's godfather. They were gearing up to go overseas. They become a striker brigade. Went to visit them, got accepted right off the bat. Left my old company, went with them. That's when I went to MOSQ, which is your military occupational specialty. I had to change over to the infantry, 11 Bravo. Did that, left there, went straight to Striker OpNet. So I learned how to VC and have a license on a Striker. After that, sent me to Warrior Leaders course, which is a sergeant school. Got promoted to sergeant, and then went into our training, went right back overseas again.
God damn, man, that's insane, dude. And you're talking about like seeing like a live battlefield.
No, he was there.
Dude, like, what could you possibly do to prepare yourself for that?
You could train up as much as you want. It's until something happens, it becomes the most unnatural thing, but how you respond to it is natural. Some people laugh. Some people get depressed. Some people just, hey, let's just keep it moving. It's the more you're exposed to it. Yeah, some people freeze. Like, it's just a natural reaction. But the more you're exposed to it, you have to kind of understand like why you're there to begin with. It's not about politics or anything like that. It was more or less about the guy next to me and survival. At the same time, we weren't doing stupid shit either, fucking with the people. We respected the people, respected their culture, and it was fun being around them. Even my second deployment, having to be more working close tie with them because of the SOFA agreement. But, it becomes a natural, thing for me. Like, I loved doing it. I enjoyed it. I had purpose. You know what I mean? That's the main thing with a lot of veterans these days. When they get out, they lose that sense of purpose. And that's what drives them into, deep depression and drinking things. And I fell right into the same pool as that. So, like, with all the exposures, you got to just see what happens. You know what I mean? It's like watching a car crash. People sit, freeze, and just watch it happen. So it just goes into that, and your training kicks in, and after that, you come to terms with what just took place. Now goes what's important now. Let's continue on with the mission. The mission is always mission first. After that, then you can start wrapping yourself up in your emotions and try to process what just took place.
Yeah. I suppose, like, when you're in that situation, you can't really take time to get emotional and, overthink what's going on in front of you.
Yep.
You know, like it's just crazy. But how did you find, like, when you came back? You know, you said you wanted to just get back over there straight away. Did you find it difficult coming back from being like in a battlefield to coming back into like your normal society, like your normal community and stuff?
It was very, very difficult for me, like very difficult. Like I said, it was like the sense of purpose kind of goes away, the tempo changes. You're so used to like this adrenaline rush, it becomes like nothing to you. You know what I mean? It's just like when the adrenaline kicks in, there's no physical effect to you at all. You're not having the jitters, you're not having anything. You're just more driven to doing what needs to be done, driven to complete this mission. So once you got home, you didn't utilize that anymore. It's different. Everything's in slow motion. You're watching. Like, you came from an area where there's shit actually popping off and kicking off, and you come home and everybody here acts like fucking rainbows and butterflies and fucking cotton candy drops coming from the sky. You know what I mean? And then you kind of sit back and like, you realize what the fuck is happening outside of here. You know what I mean? Complete chaos, and no one here is ready for it. Every dickhead here has a fucking opinion about it. Like, all of a sudden they're foreign affairs fucking experts. But here, yeah, you sit behind your cute cubicle and shit, wearing fucking Crocs with them stupid ass pendants on it, but not understanding or realizing that there's people overseas now that are keeping the wolves at bay.
And it's almost like some of these people are going, yeah, we should go to war with such and such. Yeah, but they're not. They're very easy to say that when they're not the ones pulling the trigger, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a crazy sort of way to do it. But once you started going into like the military and doing regular tours, like, did you think like, okay, wrestling is done for me, like I'm not going to do it, or was it always like, I'm going to come back to wrestling when I can? Like, where was your mentality about wrestling?
It is difficult because it's like I found like another thing that I was good at and belonged to, and then making that transition back, like, it was always there. Like, especially the first tour, I wanted to come back to it. You know what I mean? Because like my guys are my family. Period. You know, Boogaloo knows that. G's knows that. They're my family no matter what. You know, it's like blood. And then that whole saying, you can't choose your family, is bullshit. I say, well, my family, fuck them. You know what I mean? Because I have guys like Boogaloo and things like that, and that's just how it is. But you know, but to me, with wrestling, it was always there. You know, the passion's always there. Like, for me now as an adult, it's kind of difficult on because of the things have changed in the business to me. You know what I mean? Like I touched on earlier about dues, paying your dues and things like that. And I'm not knocking on any of the guys by no means. I think they're all phenomenal. But it's just like for me to be in it, it's a culture shock for me. You know, just to come back in and seeing the things the way they are. Because I became like, once I left for war and came back, and then went to war again and came back, I became more of a different person. So it's like these certain sentiments don't mean much to me anymore. You know what I mean? I don't understand the real beefs between guys, you know, because we're all here working together. It's a team thing no matter what. And you see a lack in that these days. A lot of guys are in for themselves. And, look, if that's your whole thing about getting into wrestling is to become rich and famous and all that shit, hey, I can respect that. But just remember where the fuck you came from. You know what I mean? And remember the passion when you had as a kid. You know, like, we all enjoyed wrestling. We even at one point wrestled for free, or for $5 or $20, or for a fucking hot dog and a soda. But then over time, this shit goes away and people are more into the business aspect, and that sucks the fun out of it. Then you got these fucking cocksucking promoters that are pretty much like they weren't like wrestlers or anything, and they're the whole thing, like I said, with the ego. This is my ball, and I'm gonna do whatever I want with it, you know. And that sucks a lot of that passion, a lot, like, from people like myself, like what DJ did. Like, I see when I see DJ once in a while, I give him the respect and I shake his hand, become cordial. But the thing is, the bullshit he pulled sucked everything out of me, and I want nothing to do with him anymore. Period.
Yeah. I mean, when you like independent wrestling promoter can't really turn around and say to their talent, you can't work for someone else. Like, unless you're paying them exclusivity, where like you're paying their bills and they're paying their medical and their insurance, then you can say
guys,
that. But when you're paying them $50
I'm sorry, I got to cut you guys short. I got to head inside, and I can't have my phone inside. So if you guys are still on, I'll jump back on. Okay.
Oh, good, man. Look, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for coming on, man.
No, I definitely want to do this again. Please, let's reschedule, because I do want to do this again.
Let's do a part 2, brother. We'll tee it up.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Definitely do it. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, because you got to play the Aussie slang game.
Got it. All right, Boogaloo. Love you, brother. Hit me up.
Too, man. Definitely.
Thank you for having me on. I'll talk to you guys.
All right, good luck with your dad, bro.
Thank you, bro.
All right, man. Bye.
All right, man. Thank you for joining us, Joker. Boogaloo, thank you for joining us as well, man. It's always good having a chat with you, man, and having you involved. And definitely Joker, man, is one guy. Amazing history.
A lot of stuff he just talked about, he never talked about with us. Because when he came back, he came back and, and he came back to when he left, he was small. Like him and Lowrider, they were tiny. Him, Lowrider, and G's, they were little. They were like children to me, and because they were around they all around the same.
Well,
age.
bury him when they're not here, man.
No, I'm saying they were small guys. They were still kids. They were in their early
growing into the yeah.
They weren't men yet, and he left. He comes back, cause I tell you, he came to WXW with DJ. Yeah, and he was still small then. Then when he deployed, he came back, and I saw him like maybe a year or two later. When he finally came, I was like, "Holy shit!" He was my size. He was a 200-pounder, and I was like, "Holy shit, what the fuck?" And he's changed. He's more hardened. He wasn't that bright-eyed kid that he was running out there doing crazy high spots and stuff. He became, he became like. He saw shit,
Yeah, bro.
Man,
and you could see that when.
And I'd never heard these stories.
You could see that looking back at his promos when he came back from being deployed, and you can see the difference in obviously the character, but you can see in the eyes the person is
he changed.
Exactly.
He changed, but he's a great guy, great brother, great father. And he's the type of person, if you ever need him, he's always going to be there. And
man.
I can never say nothing bad about Joker. I can never say nothing bad about G's, Eddie Kingston. None of them Blackout guys. They're all great.
Bro, Blackout to me is Ruckus is my homie, man.
Ruckus is cool as hell.
Ruckus is one of my boys, bro. He's cool as fuck, man. I've had almost nearly every member of Blackout on now. Except I haven't had Marino and I haven't had Kingston.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, but who knows, man? Maybe we'll see what those guys turn up on the MWA Podcast Network at some stage on one of the shows. Because hey, man, this is the place to be. We have 7 shows going out every single week. We got Nights of the Gimmick Table. Hosted by Boogaloo and his brother Lowrider, the Dead Presidents, where they have on some amazing guests. They're bringing on their friends, talking about the tales going up and down the roads over the last 20 years. If you don't know who the Dead Presidents are, guys, go and look them up. They are, tag team wrestling legends on the indie scene, man, and 2 guys that are probably the most respected on the indies in the last 20 years, and probably one of the best tag teams on the indies in the last 20 years as well. Guys, also check out Killing the Business, hosted by Angel motherfucking Medina, King Mega, and Glenn Sexton. Which king is he?
He's the Burger King.
The Burger King.
The show with the 3 kings.
And also make sure to check out Get Funked, hosted by Alan Kiwi Funk. He ain't no bitch. Make sure to check that show out. And he's having on some amazing guests. If you're a WCW fan or you're a classic wrestling fan, that's the show to tune in, man, and sort of reminisce and hear. He's had on some amazing guests, and even had some guys on that you don't even see do podcasts, like Lash LaRue, Lenny Lane, and Reno. So make sure you check that show out. And guys, as always,
there's more.
There's more.
There's other shows.
We got Wrestling with Sports. Yeah. We got NXT Roundup, and we got the Funk and Kingpin show. So, guys, this is the place to be for all wrestling entertainment media. But guys, we ain't gonna keep you much longer. This is Piers. This is Boogaloo. Make sure you support, subscribe, share, like, comment, and guys, we appreciate you all for tuning in. We'll catch you very soon. Until next time.
Peace.
Take it easy.